welcome to the Junto Podcast, episode 39, and excited to be doing a community spotlight here. Lots going on in Crittenden County, and excited. This is the first of a couple of community spotlights that we'll be doing in the next couple of weeks. Just in terms of community people doing community things, and just excited to help share in that. And tonight I have the opportunity to meet with Greg Shea. Am I saying that right?
That's correct.
But excited to be with you for this community spotlight.
Glad to be here.
Kind of looking forward to learning a little bit more about you. You know, this podcast, if you've never tuned in, it's about community and leadership, generally framed from the perspective of faith. Everything we do is kind of about unity and community and those kind of things. But Greg, it's good to have you. Tell us,
thank you.
How you doing today, man?
Oh, I'm great. I'm, into the campaign trail right now. I'm running for office, so
yeah, that's exciting.
It is.
Tell us. I mean, you brought it up. You mentioned it. What are you running for office for? And tell us a little bit about that process.
Okay, I'm actually running for the Crittenden County Coroner's office. I've been involved in this industry for several years, so I want to be part of this community. I've been here for a long time, so
that's awesome. You said one of the key words here at the Junto Podcast, and that is community. And one of the things that we kind of discussed is, I always want to do things that are community oriented. But what is your history with Crittenden County? Are you new to the area? Are you longstanding resident? Tell us a little bit about your history there.
Well, I guess you could say I'm kind of new. I was actually born here. I was born at the original hospital.
Come on,
yeah.
Wow.
So, but I've been here for the last 25 years. My wife and I bought a house at Horseshoe Lake.
Wow, awesome.
And we actually lived in West Memphis before that. So,
okay.
But yeah, we came back to this area. We're both from the Parkin area, which is in Cross County.
Yeah.
And, but we just came back to this area because, well, for one thing, we homeschooled our children.
Wow,
and
awesome.
My wife was part of the homeschool group here in Crittenden County. So, we just wanted to be part of this community.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. We share some similar things. We homeschooled our oldest two for years, and
Sure.
So definitely, I like that, and I can appreciate that. It's not easy. It's not as easy as people think. Certainly,
Definitely not.
At least if you want to do it right.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's right.
You can homeschool, but it's another thing entirely to make sure that they're getting what they need. But,
That's correct.
yeah, that's awesome. So Horseshoe Lake area and from Cross County and back into Crittenden County,
Exactly.
and it sounds like you got your hands full. Tell me a little bit about this coroner thing. I mean, what is your history, or what was it about this that made you say, you know what, I think I could do that and do it with excellence? What made you run?
I've been working. I work now for the University of Tennessee in Memphis, which is under contract with the Shelby County Medical Examiners office.
Oh, wow.
So we take care of any kind of any deaths involved in Crittenden County. In Shelby County,
Right.
and outlying counties as well. In Shelby County, we respond to scene calls, no matter what it is. If it's a auto wreck or something like that, could be a violent death or something like that, we respond to that. Even natural deaths, we respond to those as well.
Wow.
So I've been doing that for 13 years, and I just thought that, it's time to do something different.
Wow.
It's really busy over there.
Yeah, goodness gracious.
So I kind of wanted to get away from that, and I'm also a deputy coroner here in Crittenden County, which I have been for over 10 years. So I just think that it's time for me to step up and make some changes.
That's awesome. For me personally, I'm a little bit squeamish, but just hearing some of the things that you're describing, we don't think about, everyday people. We don't really think about what coroners do and what they see, and as you're mentioning some of the things that you've approached and that you do as coroner, I'm thankful for you guys to handle some of that. But certainly, I think it takes a special person to kind of to kind of deal with that thing. And tell us a little bit about your background, and then how does your background tie in? I mean, I know you already said that you're deputy coroner here in Crittenden County, but how did all that come into play, and what made you take on this type of work?
Well, actually, I did engineering work for years. I was a designer, structural and mechanical designer. Worked in the petrochemical industry, all different types of industries. I wound up actually working in the cotton gin industry for the last 13 years of my engineering career.
Wow.
The cotton industry kind of had a downfall, and not much cotton being produced. So I actually got laid off.
Wow.
And I told my wife that, I said, I'm just kind of tired of the whole engineering thing. I want to do something different, and I want to do something completely different. So,
wow, and it sounds like you did.
I did.
Going from an engineering type of situation and then coming into this type of situation as coroner. I think you got your wish in terms of it being different. But, it also seems a little bit to me like it is a service role, I know you're servicing and dealing with a lot of accidents and maybe violent things, but also I'm thinking about, families who lose a loved one. I lost my dad last year. In fact, October 2nd was just the year anniversary of my dad's passing. So I know for me personally how I would feel like I would want my dad to be treated with a certain amount of respect. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, how do you relay, just in dealing with families, how do you deal with all that?
Well, I think it's my job is not so much about the deceased person. It's more about the families.
Wow.
And I deal with families. I talk to them on a regular basis, and try to, express sympathy and understanding at the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the critical part, is to try to help them face what's actually going on and move on with it.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, and probably a lot of the things that I say on these scenes, it doesn't register with the families until after it's over, until I'm gone, and then maybe they reflect on that and remember some of the things that I say to them. I mean, I've prayed with families.
Oh man, wow.
It's awesome. Just something, it's about the family at that point.
Man, that's awesome. That's actually really encouraging to hear. Obviously this podcast is framed around the perspective of faith, but just hearing you say that you carry that into the workplace, because I know while it may be a job, I mean, you're dealing, like you said, you're dealing with families, and
certainly
specifically families in a lot of cases in probably one of the most tragic times.
Exactly.
I know not every case and family, some families care less about each other, but I think for the most part, when you're dealing with the type of passing of someone, there is that's a heavy subject. So,
it is.
I come from, and I got a lot of counseling background. I got Bible and counseling certifications, but let me ask you this. How do you deal with, just for your own well-being, how do you deal with dealing with death all the time and keeping yourself in a good spot? In the beginning, it was difficult, and especially with children, because sadly enough, we do deal with child deaths, and the first few times I did that, I was really it affected me. Wow.
But I was actually on a case one time. I was at Le Bonheur Hospital, and I realized that the Bible says that these children are taken care of.
Yeah.
These children are in heaven.
Wow.
And so I approached that side of my job like that. Other cases are, I don't know, because these people are adults. I don't know if they've been saved or not.
Right.
But, I say a prayer for them while I'm on the scene, and just hope that they're where they need to be,
Yeah, that's awesome. If you've never thought about the life of a coroner, because it's just not something we think about. We don't have to deal with it. But I'm learning, even as we're having this conversation, that there's so much more to it, probably things that we've never thought about. But I do, and I have always wondered, it's kind of the same being, a doctor or somebody who's around a lot of trauma.
Right.
You have to keep yourself in a good place, because that stuff is heavy, and it will weigh down on you.
Certainly.
But that's great. It sounds like you've got a lot of experience and you've seen some things. And what ultimately, or what do you hope to accomplish? I guess, let's say Greg Shea is elected the coroner. What are your plans, or what do you hope to accomplish through this?
Well, I think that the coroner's office here needs a little bit of new blood, pretty much. I have medical knowledge. I work with 7 pathologists at my office, forensic pathologists. So I've gained a lot of medical knowledge. I went to EMT school, so I have that medical knowledge as well. The current situation here is the coroner's not, he owns a funeral home, so it's not that he's medically in tune with what's going on. And it's the coroner's responsibility to assign a cause of death on death certificates.
Wow.
So it's an awesome responsibility, and I would not take that lightly. I think that here the coroner's office should be separated from funeral home activities. So that's my main reason for doing this.
Gotcha.
I want to serve the community. I want it done in a proper way. I'm comfortable I deal with Memphis Police Department, Memphis Fire Department, Shelby County. I deal with all of these agencies, and I think that I could have a really good relationship with the sheriff, with the police chiefs, the detectives of these agencies, to improve death investigations, because it is an investigative process.
Wow.
So,
very interesting. And this has been extremely informative for me. And I know if you tune in, you're going to learn. You're going to start asking questions about that. And, you know more about what's happening as far as the coroners here in Crittenden County. So that is interesting to hear that. And tell us a little bit more. What is the main job? I know you said that the coroners have to kind of sign that death certificate, and it is an investigative process. But what would be some of the primary roles and some of the things that you would really focus on?
Well, based on my experience, my experience includes over 900 homicide investigations.
Wow.
Where I was the investigator for the medical examiner's office. So I would absolutely, any homicide or any suicide death in this county, I would be involved in. I'm going to make the scene. I'm going to do the investigation. I would have deputy coroners here. That's typical.
Right.
Pretty much every coroner has that, because you have to have a backup thing. But I want to be involved in the process, and I want to get involved with law enforcement and make sure that these cases are investigated properly. I think some in a coroner state like Arkansas is, I think there are a lot of situations where deaths are gone, they go by and they don't get actually investigated properly. So
I agree, and I could see that. And I won't get into too many details, but I certainly just thinking about the big death with my father personally, and then reading the death certificate, those are things that you certainly want to make sure are accurate.
Exactly,
because it needs to reflect the proper thing. So very interesting. I'm glad that you said that should you be elected as coroner, that those are some of your goals, is to to be thorough, to be present on the scene, and then to give the things the due time. So that a proper, I don't want to say diagnosis, but so that it can be categorized properly in terms of the death and on the death certificate.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to serving Crittenden County. I mean, it's an awesome responsibility if I'm elected. I just I hope that this turns out the way I want it to, and I get this chance, because I've served my community. I've been on the fire department at Horseshoe Lake. I'm the medical officer there.
Gotcha.
I've been there for over 15 years. So, I've served the community in that aspect. but I want to go a little bit farther.
Well,
I'm not a politician, but
well, and which kind of leads me to my next question. And certainly, I don't think that a coroner has to be a politician to be a good coroner for sure. But what has been the most challenging part of this process? Just deciding to take this step. What has been the most challenging part? Can be as ugly as death, almost.
right,
You know?
exactly.
So,
Yeah. Well, I think for me the most challenging part is I work a night shift at Shelby County. So
wow.
I mean, I go in at night and to work all night, and I work long days. I work really long weeks. So and then to be able to get out in the community and meet people and let them know what I'm doing, it can be difficult.
Yeah.
I think the lack of sleep is finally catching up.
Exactly. You want to go ahead and get that election done and get this that way you can focus on that. But certainly, I think it needs to be commended. Anybody who is stepping out there and trying to be community minded and actually, it's easy to say you're going to do something, but to take action and to do that, I always commend that. And, certainly we wish you the best of luck, but, I want to give you an opportunity, just to let people know why Greg Shea.
Sure.
I want you to tell your story, and I want you to, why vote Greg Shea when it comes time to cast that ballot?
Well, I can say that, for one thing, I have the experience. I have 13 years in Memphis working with the Shelby County Medical Examiners office. My medical knowledge is, I think, beyond what our current coroners is. And I think that the funeral homes should not be involved in the coroner's office. There's two different there's two different types of states. You have a medical examiner state, which is Tennessee, and a coroner state, which is Arkansas.
Wow.
And so the systems are completely different. Things tend to fall through the cracks in coroner states, I think, more so than a medical examiner state.
Wow.
So I think that, I want to bring an extra set of eyes to this office, make sure that every case is looked at diligently and professionally, and make sure that nothing falls through the cracks.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I think in all regards, in every office in Crittenden County and beyond, I think that's exactly the type of representation that any community would need. Someone
Certainly.
who's going to, be thorough and take the job serious. And I'll take your word for it when it comes to the logistics of funeral homes and coroners.
Yeah, sure.
That's way outside of what I know, but certainly, I could see how that could be presented as an issue. So certainly we wish you the best in that. And,
Sure.
What has been the most rewarding part? I know we talked about some of the challenges to getting in office, but certainly there has to be some positive things to this process. And what are you looking forward to most? And what has been the biggest, I guess, blessing, if you will, in
Sure.
deciding to run?
Well, I think getting out and meeting people, I've been to several community functions. I've been to a few meet and greet sessions, which is great. You get to meet people from the community that you don't ordinarily get to meet.
Right,
So,
yeah.
that's been exciting. I have 8 grandchildren.
Wow, cool.
7 of them are big enough to understand what's going on. So
Right.
So they're excited, and I told them tonight I was coming to do a TV show, so they're excited to see this podcast.
Well, that's good. Well, we're glad to be part of it. Certainly, we want to do anything we can to support community-minded people, and we certainly wish you the best. And, if you haven't talked to a coroner in a long time, hopefully you have kind of learned a little bit about it. And I would be remiss if we didn't ask, we talked a lot about what you have upcoming, but what, I'm sure people are curious, what has been one of the hardest things you've encountered on the job itself?
Well, it's
and
difficult
I know that's
to
hard.
say. It's difficult to say. There's been so many, but one comes to mind always for me. I had a case in Memphis where there was a fire and there were several victims. In fact, when I got on the scene, there were 7 deceased individuals on the scene.
Wow.
And there were 3 additional individuals that went to the hospital and were pronounced deceased there.
Wow.
So a case with 10 fatalities at one time is difficult.
Wow.
Very difficult. And some of those were children. So it made it really hard. It's, there were fire personnel there, and I know that it affected them as well.
Goodness.
It's something I thought about for a long time, and it's one I will never forget.
Yeah. Wow. Goodness. Well, I'll say that we've always supported our first responders for that reason. We're just kind of clueless on the things that people like you and first responders and EMTs and paramedics, people who are just in the field, and there's no way to know unless you're in that type of job. So certainly thankful for what you guys do, and Greg, regardless of how this turns out, certainly we wish you the best of luck here at the Junto Podcast. We appreciate you allowing us just to be part of it, and allowing you to tell a little bit of your story. We're hopeful that this impacts somebody. And if you learned something tonight and you really enjoy and you like the vision that Greg is casting as far as the coroner's office is concerned, you know what to do when it comes election time. So again, remember the name Greg Shea for the Crittenden County Coroner's Office. And when is the election date? So I know that I live in Crawfordsville, so that's why I can talk to so many people, because a lot of this is out of my jurisdiction. But tell us a little bit about when that date is, and then when is early voting?
Right. November 8th is the actual day of election. Early voting starts the 24th of October, I believe, which is Monday, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I encourage everyone to get out and vote. We all need to be part of this process. It's nothing's going to change if we don't get involved.
That's exactly right. They always say nothing changes if nothing changes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you can expect the status quo if you're not willing to do anything about it.
That's exactly right.
But Greg, any final thoughts before we end tonight? Anything specifically you wanted to say in closing?
I think that we've covered about everything. I'm a family man. I love my family. I love my community.
That's awesome.
And I want to use my experience to help this community move forward.
That's awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate your time that you've put into this. I know it's not only time, but it's resources, and it's a lot that goes into it. So we certainly commend you for doing that. And come voting time, Greg, we certainly wish you the best. So
thank you so much.
I appreciate the opportunity. It was great talking to you.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for tuning in, guys. We hope that you learned something from this. Thank you for tuning into the Junto Podcast, and we'll see you next time. God bless.